Welcome to BCMP Academy. Today we are going to see about an atom. So what is an atom? What is stuff made up of? This question came upon many people's mind during 460 to 370 BC. This question was answered by Democritus, a philosopher. He said that all objects in this world is made up of tiny particles called atoms. These particles are indivisible. But this answer was rejected by many philosophers. One of the most famous philosophers at that time is Aristotle. He stated that world is made up of 4 elements: earth, water, fire and air. But atoms would remain forgotten until 1808. A chemist named John Dalton proposed the atomic theory. It stated that all matter is made up of tiny particles called atoms. A chemical reaction is a rearrangement of atoms. An atom always takes part in a chemical reaction. All atoms of an element are identical in mass and properties. After John Dalton proposing his atomic theory, scientists found that atoms are made up of 3 subatomic particles, namely electrons, protons and neutrons, which states that atom can be divisible. The first subatomic particle discovered is electron. It was represented by an lowercase e. It was discovered by J.J. Thomson. He discovered electrons using the cathode ray experiment. It includes a tube and has a cathode plate and anode plate on the opposite side of the direction. When he applied voltage on the cathode plate, he saw that rays were passing through and attracted by the anode, which states that these particles are negatively charged because it is attracted by a positively charged plate. So he named these particles as electrons. The next subatomic particle discovered were protons. It was discovered by Ernst Rutherford. He used an experiment named anode ray experiment. He used the same experiment used by J.J. Thomson but did a slight modification. He made a hole in the cathode plate and kept a negative and positive charged plate on the opposite sides of the tube. So when he passed the anode rays, he saw that these rays were passing through the cathode plate and were attracted by the negative plate. So he understood that these particles were positively charged, so that it was attracted by the negatively charged plate. So he named these particles as protons. The last subatomic particle discovered were neutrons. It was discovered by James Chadwick using the experiment alpha particle experiment. What he did was he kept an unknown radiation emitter and placed a negative and positively charged plate on the opposite sides of the tube. When he passed the rays, he saw that these rays were neither attracted by the negative plate nor the positive plate. So he understood that these particles are neutrally charged and named it neutrons. After finding the subatomic particles, the question came upon the minds of the scientists: what is the structure of the atom? For this question, J.J. Thomson proposed his Plum pudding model. He stated that the pudding is positively charged matter and electrons are like the plums in the pudding, scattered over. But this model was not accepted by many scientists because of the gold foil experiment. It was done by Ernst Rutherford. When he kept a detector and when he emitted alpha particles through the gold foil, he saw that some of the rays were scattered and most of the rays were passing through. This shows that atoms are mostly empty space. Most of the mass are composed in its nucleus. After finding the structure of the atom, Ernst Rutherford was unable to explain the stability of an atom. But a scientist named Niels Bohr said that electrons do not radiate energy. They absorb or emit energy. When an electron absorbs energy, it moves to a higher shell. When it releases energy, it will move to a lower shell. At last, after all these discoveries, we know that electrons revolve around nucleus and nucleus consists of the protons and the neutrons. Most of the space of the atom is confined in the nucleus and atoms are very small. Thanks for watching.